Happy Free Agent Friday. Today, we take a look at the top centers available this summer and are any a better fit than Matt Duchene, plus potential trade targets for the Dallas Stars if they want to shore up the back end. That and more coming up next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to another edition of Free Agent Friday. Today, we take a look at the top centers available this summer. This class does not have a ton of star power, but there are some intriguing options that the Stars could be in on or could not be in on, and are any a better fit than what Matt Duchene would be, because we already know what a great fit he was a season ago. We're going to discuss everything on today's episode, plus some potential trade targets. There are some teams that have some defensemen on expiring deals at the end of next season, and could the Stars pick up one of those right-handed defensemen to add to this decor for next year? Who knows? I'll let you know some of the names I have an eye on for next season, including the trade deadline. Who knows when this move could possibly be made? But the Dallas Stars are looking to improve next season to, of course, get over the hump. Let's jump into another edition of Free Agent Friday, which is brought to you by Ultimate Hockey GM. You've heard me talk about it. You ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your hockey franchise? Well, now you can. With Ultimate Hockey GM, it's completely free, and Locked On listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. To download the game, just visit hockeygm.app or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM, start your dynasty today. As I mentioned just moments ago, this class of centers does not have a ton of star power, but there are some very intriguing names with some top six ability, but you may be taking a risk by overpaying for a few of these centers. Teams always need depth up the middle, and the Stars, on one hand, have a luxury of multiple centers up and down your lineup. You can never have enough. And if you look at Dallas, you have Hintz, you have Johnston, you have Ben, you have Sagan, Duchene, Steele can even play center, Maverick Bourque, of course, along with Radek Faksa as well. So the Stars have an embarrassment of riches in terms of center icemen. You can never have enough. That's why I don't think the Stars are going to be too intrigued by a ton of these names, but it is worth to take a look, because if you are going to move off Radek Faksa, maybe you need to fill that need or fill that position. So there are some names that are available that Dallas may just take a peek at in the next couple of weeks. Some of the headliners in this class include Sam Reinhart, who's coming off a career season, and boy, it came at the right time. 44 goals, 40 assists for 84 points. He's just 28 years old. He'll probably stay in Florida, I would assume, but you never know. It all comes down to money and term. His projected value is $11 million. And yeah, he had a phenomenal season in Florida. And of course, he's still playing in the Stanley Cup final. So we'll see what happens with Reinhart. The Stars are certainly going to be out on him. Stamkos has been thrown around a couple of times. I've talked to Sam Nessler along with Uri a couple of weeks ago, and they both mentioned Stamkos. He's 34 years old. He still has high offensive upside. He doesn't do a ton else. You also have to take into account he's had some major injuries throughout his career, but he would be sort of like a Joe Pavelski coming over from San Jose at this time. At 34 years of age, still had 84 points this past season. He can obviously score with the best of them, and he gives you a ton of quality on the power play. And I think that is an option. If offered, Dallas would certainly pick up the phone for him. I don't think it's very realistic. Does he take a hometown discount in Florida and continue to run it back with the Lightning? Who knows? I think I think Tampa would eventually come to their senses and offer him what at least he deserves. This comes from The Athletic. His salary range should be somewhere around $7 million. That's still top line caliber, but on the lower end where Stamkos is better suited with some second line shelter on a contender. The past season was arguably the worst defensive year of his career. So if the discount is on 8 million and he gets 7 million instead, it's just Stamkos getting what he deserves. That's fine. For a true discount, though, he needs to be close to $6 million or less. And that is the range that Dallas would be willing to offer someone like Stamkos. It would be a ton of fun to watch him suited up in victory green. I'll give you that. Him playing alongside someone like Seguin and Duchene or Johnston and Ben, and then having a lethal guy on the power play on that left circle, just pound pucks towards the net. Man, if Stamkos wants to take a friendly deal somewhere around $5 million, hey, bring him on board. I don't know how realistic of an option that truly is. There is a name that I'm intrigued about. I've always liked his game, and that's Sean Monahan. 29 years old, 57 points this past year with Winnipeg, a +4 offensive rating, a -1 defensive rating. Thought he's always played really, really well against Dallas, and maybe that's why I may be a bit high on him. In this article in particular, it says, I'm not as high on Monahan, but he certainly looks to be a top 6 caliber right now with a capability of scoring 55 points. He scored around 1.85 points per 60 since leaving Calgary. So he's done a great job wherever he's gone. Of course, he was in Montreal for a year, and he's found a way to be productive with his situation. So you have to imagine if he would find himself here in Dallas, you can put some really nice players around him. And that sort of brings me to another name, and that's Elias Lindholm. I think someone's probably going to overpay for his services just because he had a phenomenal year a few seasons ago. He still had a really solid season with Calgary and Vancouver, 62 points. He's 29 years old. His projected value for this model shows at 5.2 million, but there's rumors that he could go for somewhere around 8 million. And look, that's just a no-go for here in Dallas. Rope Hintz is getting paid 8.4, and you're already paying Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin in nines. So that's just not going to fit in the budget for Dallas. But still an intriguing player. He had his best seasons when he was flanked by Tkachuk and Gaudreau. No surprise, those are very, very good talents. And Gaudreau, to be fair, hasn't quite looked the same since he's left Calgary, albeit his situation isn't the best in Columbus, but Tkachuk has certainly continued to make a name for himself down south. And this is where I kind of circle back to, are any of these centers going to be a better fit than Matt Duchene? And as much as I've sort of been on the record of, look, you move off from Duchene, you're going to be fine. In my opinion, Dallas is going to be fine up front if they bring Duchene back or not. But it is valuable to have a guy that you can consistently get production out of up the middle. And we all know what he did for Tyler Seguin. Can you prolong Seguin for a few more seasons, or at least another season with having Duchene by his side? Is it worth giving that up for Maverick Bourque to make the jump, who I think is going to be an excellent, excellent player? But then you're going to really rely on Faksa or another external option, or you're really going to have to look to go out and get someone to fill your spots. I don't know if there's a better fit than Matt Duchene. And obviously that's easy to say just because we already have the answer to that with Duchene being here the past season and putting up 65 points. The postseason was certainly bitter, but you look at the whole body of work, it was really good. And Duchene at this age, he's not your top six, or he may be in your top six, but he's not your 1C, is what I'm trying to get to. He's not burdened with the responsibility of being that number one center. Rope Hintz and Wyatt Johnston, sort of your 1A, 1B. Duchene can just do what he does best. Plus, he's still taking paychecks from Nashville. You can probably get him for a pretty decent deal. And I talked about this yesterday to some degree, and I'm sorry we're doing it again. But I think they're going to re-sign Tanev and Duchene. I think they can get both back in the building. And as I mentioned, up the middle, you have Hintz, Johnston, Duchene, and Bork. That's really strong. That's really, really good. That top nine is great. And I have Bork in this situation just being your fourth line center, and I don't think that's going to be the case. He'll be somewhere within the top nine. Could be somewhere within the top six. Who knows how it all plans out in training camp and in the preseason. So Duchene is very valuable. I'm not going to argue against that. But if he walks, do you have a better option? Is there a better option than Matt Duchene in this free agent class? Maybe, but are you going to overpay for someone's services? Chandler Stephenson's available at 30 years of age. And look, he's a good player, but his main quality is his speed. It's his legs. And he took a real drop off last year. Wasn't quite the same player. And players that really, really bank on their speed and skill do not always necessarily age the best. And you really want to go in for someone like Chandler Stephenson. I will say, out of all the players that maybe I'm higher on, or I would be in on, is Adam Henrique. Look, he gets results. You've seen it in Edmonton and the impact he has had. He's not flashy. He's not a fantastic player by any stretch of the imaginations, but boy, he's really productive on both ends of the rink. He fits in nicely on the bottom six. He would give you some size, and for a 34-year-old, I think he would be a great option to fill in and just give you some veteran presence and just some snarl in his game too. And look, he can still get the job done. I would be picking up the phone, or at least taking a look at what he could provide. He brings you Stanley Cup pedigree as well. If you're worried about what you have on the back end, because you're looking at Sam Steele, Craig Smith, and Radek Fox. So the nice thing is, with Pavelski leaving, you do have a spot open that you can fill. But do you want to fill that with probably a better fit like William Carrier, which we talked about a bit yesterday? There probably are some better options. So I think I would side on the air of, you should probably re-sign Matt Duchene and go out and get a winger in free agency, like a Carrier or a Joshua, you name it, whoever, frankly, than giving up Duchene and maybe overpaying or picking up a guy like Monahan or Lindholm who could work, but is that really the piece that's going to get you over the hump? Is that the piece that you're trying to put around your core players? Because Dallas is set in a lot of ways. It's now just trying to put the pieces in around. And I don't know if a Monahan or a Lindholm is the right piece of the puzzle, right? I don't know if that's the X factor, because Duchene was sort of your X factor this season. You're hoping, and it didn't really pan out. Doesn't mean it can't happen next season. And this is where I want to segue into some more conversations specifically on Faksa, even Patrick Kane, who many of you have asked me about in the comments. I do want to address some of that, and we'll do that on the other side in just a moment. Howdy, Stars fans. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Hockey GM. Talk about the mobile game Ultimate Hockey GM. I've talked about it before. It is phenomenal because you can dream of becoming NHL GM, and this mobile game gives you a chance to be one. Do you think you could run the Stars better than the current general manager, Jim Nill? Well, you can do it with Ultimate Hockey GM. You can manage every strategic aspect of the team, play through the seasons, lead it to glory. You hire the coaches, the staff, you trade the players, you have the draft picks, navigate through free agency and the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. As a Stars fan, you know there is no offseason. GMs are constantly making moves at every point of the year to improve their team's chances, and that's why I think you are going to love the game. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. Locked On NHL and the network listeners get 100% boost on your franchise when using promo Locked On NHL in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game. Just visit hockeygm.app, hockeygm.app, or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM. Start your dynasty today. So I've addressed this proposed question a few times in the comment section below a few of your videos. And by the way, please keep them coming. Love interacting and engaging with you guys and hearing your thoughts, as well as giving my opinions on certain players or certain proposed situations. And Patrick Kane came up yesterday, and the question was somewhere along the lines of, look, Kane is always rumored to be interested in Dallas. It feels like every time he's a free agent, and there have been some rumblings. Once again, there was quite a few rumblings earlier on in the season before he actually signed with Detroit. I actually did an episode on it the morning that he signed with the Red Wings, believe it or not. And my opinion on the matter is, look, Kane is still a great player. He had 47 points with Detroit this past year. He can still be productive. He's going to be 35 next season. I don't see the fit here in Dallas. And from what insiders and analysts made it seem like earlier in the year, it made it seem like Kane was more interested in the idea of coming to Dallas than Dallas was interested in coming here. I don't necessarily love the fit. I don't necessarily see it, because I think Kane is looking for a situation where he can play in the top six and he can still get heavy power play minutes. And I don't necessarily blame him. I think he's still a great player. If he came to Dallas, I wouldn't be disgusted by it. I think it would work. I think Dallas could make it work. Good players find a way. But I don't see the fit with a pretty crowded top nine. And you have Stamkos and Bork that are making the jump up. I think you should put more stock and investment into those two players than someone like Patrick Kane. Radek Faksa is another interesting name that I've seen in the comment sections. Players, or not players, but I think a lot of the fan base would have rather seen Faksa get dealt than Dellandrea. And I can see both sides of the argument. Faksa will be an interesting case. I don't know if they're going to be able to offload him this summer, but it could be an option at some point in the middle of next season. And there's potential trade targets I have in mind that I want to get into in just a bit. I'll say this. It's not the worst thing in the world if Radek is still in the opening day lineup here in the next few months. That is not worst case scenario. And you let him play on the fourth line. He gives you minutes. You know what you get out of him at this point in his career. And around the trade deadline, a few months in, if you think, hey, like it's time to ramp things up, like we have clear holes we need to fill on the back end. If you don't get Tanev, right? Like these are possibilities. And you're rocking along with Miro, Harley, Lindell, Suter, and Niels. Necessary, if that's if that's what you're rolling with, you got to make some changes. Foxa can be some bait, along with Niels Lundqvist. And I'll say that about Foxa. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if he's on your opening day lineup here in the next couple of weeks. You can find ways around that, and you can put him in a situation that he can find success. And if you look at a player like William Carrier, you put him around Foxa, that's a nice complementary piece, right? Radek is a complementary piece, and it'd be different if we're talking about Radek being in the top 9 or being, in a top 6 situation. But for what he is, he's not a terrible option. And I know Dallas needs to get better. They need more productive depth, because look, his game was really taken from him against Edmonton. And those are the teams you're going to have to beat. So the big picture, yes, you have to find a replacement or someone else that can play basically every single day in a Western Conference final type of matchup where he is not going to be left behind. And Foxa was left behind multiple times. And you can also help with that by shoring yourself up on the back end. And this is what I really want to dive into and get into some of the juicy details of possible players on expiring deals after next season that Dallas could be intrigued about, or even in this summer, in order to shore up that back end. And I'll tell you about it in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's like free agency, but not really with the cap. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So there is a list from the Daily Faceoff that puts out the top 25 potential trade targets this summer. And they have a few of the names of players that I want to get into and some just real intriguing ones. Mitch Marner, of course, is the headliner of this class. It looks like Toronto is gonna move off of him. I did hear something about Dallas may be interested in him. Like they're going to have to get rid of someone like Rope or Robo in order to bring someone in like Marner. I don't see the fit there as well. And look, I'm out on a player like Mitch Marner. He's a hell of a player, and boy, he lights up the lamp. I'm out on him. Not the type of player I love. I'll just throw that out there. He's not my cup of tea. And some of you may be saying you're crazy. Who doesn't like 85 points a year, or a potential of 100? Hey, I get it. Just not my type of player. A lot of good goaltenders on this list with Ullmark and Saros, Gustafsson, and Minnesota is another. There is one forward I do want to touch on because maybe this is a deal you could get for Faksa and Colton straight up. Ross Colton, who's a center from Colorado, who's 27, had 40 points this past year. He's got 3 years, $4 million remaining on his deal. And Faksa is pretty similar, but he just has the 1 year deal, of course, at 3.2. So their number is pretty similar. You may have to throw in someone like Niels Lundqvist. You sign Niels this offseason, and maybe you throw Niels into that conversation because, look, Colorado has some decisions. Landeskog, of course, is coming back. You're going to have to activate him. What's going on with Val Nichushkin? That's a big void you may have to fill if he's unable to come back. Do you want to prioritize re-signing Jonathan Drouin? Casey Middlestad is someone else. So they have a lot of depth up the middle as well that they're going to have to make some tough decisions on, and maybe Colton gets left by the wayside. I think he would be a real interesting add to the Dallas bottom six. He's big. He's physical. I think pretty much, honestly, the type of player Dallas is looking for. He does have a full no trade clause that kicks in on July 1st. So if Dallas is going to be in on him, or the Avs want to get rid of him or deal him, they're going to have to do it rather quickly here. So we'll see how that plays off. But that's another name that I think is pretty interesting. Okay, but now to the meat and potatoes of the segment of some players, and I think you could get them with Radek Faksa, maybe a draft pick or Niels Lundqvist or someone else thrown in to the mold. You're looking for a team as a player on expiring deal after next season, a bit older of a player, a veteran that is on a team that's on the outside looking in, looking to maybe shed some older players or just shed some cap in order to make room for some younger kids. I begin with Columbus. A 32-year-old right-handed defenseman. He does have a modified no trade clause. He's got 2 years left on his deal at $4 million. He'll be a UFA at the end of 26-27. That's Eric Gudbranson. Gudbranson is 6'5". He's over 200 pounds. I think would be a great fit here in Dallas. A rugged defenseman. It gives you a right shot. You could play with somebody like Harley. You could play even with maybe somebody like Suter. You're talking about that third pairing. Gudbranson still gives you some good minutes. He blocks shots. He's just an overall pretty solid defenseman, and he gives you that size on the back end that I'm really looking for. Plus, you have a player like Bovequist, that's young at 23. He'll need a deal at the end after next season. He'll probably get his fair share of money. They're probably looking to get rid of Merzlikins, and they do have some younger guys on the way that will be looking to fill some gaps. So Eric Branson is one that I have my eye on. Another is with Montreal. They're obviously trying to rebuild, making the Stanley Cup final a few years ago, unfortunately probably put them behind. They would like to be in a lot better position, but they're going to have a ton of young players and maybe could benefit from somebody like a Radek Faksa that it gives you a veteran presence. You can play on your bottom six and not terrible for your young guys to be around. I think Columbus has sort of the same characteristics as well. Just a lot of young forwards that are 23, 21, even some 19-year-olds. Wouldn't hurt to have someone in there like Faksa that can eat up some minutes for you, and you just know the type of player you're going to get. Montreal has a right-handed defenseman, David Savard. He's 33 years of age. His deal expires after next season. His deal was $3.5 million, so much closer to Faksa at 3.2. So that's another option for Dallas externally if you're looking for someone to acquire via trade. And this isn't necessarily here the next couple of months. It could be at the trade deadline as well, because you got to find a way to get a right-handed defenseman in the building. You need to find a stable partner for Miro Heiskanen. Just, it feels like the biggest need, get Miro on his strong side. If you can do that, man, you talk about your depth, right? It kicks Harley down one. It kicks maybe even Lindell down another. And you're talking, you could have Miro, Tanev, Harley, Lindell, Gabranson, or Savard along with Suter. That is a more stable back end. Also on the docket is one of the defensemen in St. Louis. This would be a bit harder with some of their cap hits, but St. Louis is really looking to shed some players. They're going in a very different direction. They have Justin Falk. Parayko is there, even though that's not a realistic option. Torrey Krug is also another. He is a left shot, but Falk is another player that, is a right shot, and he's still pretty young at 32 and could be a decent fit maybe. I don't think he's the style player Dallas is looking for. Falk is still your offensive defenseman at heart, and I don't know if that's the right fit either for Dallas at this point in time. So there are options out there. So I just wanted to make them known. There are possibilities for Dallas to move on from Radek Faksa, because trust me, I see you. I hear you in the comment section about trying to move on from him after getting rid of Delhi, of course, who was 23 years old and had some years ahead of him. Why not move on from Radek Faksa? I just don't know if the market right now is great for somebody like Faksa. And, I would have been, I think you could have got more for Dellandrea than Faksa. I would think you get more than a 4th round pick or a player for Dellandrea, just with the potential. Faksa pretty much is what he is. So, is a team really going to be willing to give you more for somebody like Faksa? That's why you may have to package someone in like Lundqvist, and Uri brought up Racco Gudis. We're going to hit that name too in Anaheim. They want to get rid of Zegras, it looks like, too. There's some news percolating out of there. Gudis would be a great player. I think exactly what Dallas is looking for as well. So I don't want to forget to mention him either over there in Anaheim. So there are options out there. We'll see if they can make it work. Of course, it all has to match up with money and in terms. So yeah, that'll pretty much wrap up today's episode of Locked On Stars. That's where I stand on a free agent Friday. Let me know in the comment section, is there a free agent that you really love, that you would love to have in Dallas? Doesn't have to be a center, can just be anybody. Is there a player that will be available this summer that you really want Dallas to get, even if it is unrealistic? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your feedback, that's for sure. Thank you, as always, for the love and support throughout the offseason. You guys have been phenomenal. Enjoy just talking Stars hockey and playing Fantasy GM here a bit in the next couple of weeks. Got the draft next week. Plenty of fun content planned ahead with that. And we'll continue to chug along here on Locked On Stars. Enjoy your weekend, Stars fans. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great day. Enjoy your Friday, and we'll see you next week. So long, Stars fans.